Hello again, college football fans, and here we are. It is conference championship week, week 14. And as far as the nation goes, we'd already talked about earlier that there seems to be about 6 teams that are left in the college football playoff hunt. And of those 6, 5 of them will be playing this weekend. Of course, the one that is not playing is Notre Dame, that will be in the clubhouse already watching all of the happenings this weekend like they always do, except for, last year because of strange, crazy circumstances. But yeah, they sit in their little tower of sanctimony and watch everyone else as they roll around in the mud and try to kill each other for these conference championship trophies. And this is one of those years where enough chaos happens, they're gonna waltz right back in and probably be smacked right back out by someone, because I wonder if Brian Kelly will coach them if they wind up going in this year, now that he's going to LSU. That is something that inquiring minds would like to know, I'm sure. The ESPN guys might be able to tell us that. But as far as the games go, every game is an upset watch. Every underdog, has a chance in these kind of situations. Very similar to rivalry games because there's so much at stake. It's definitely more than just a game on the line in all of these situations. Obviously, you've got the big one, Alabama and Georgia. I'll talk a little bit more about those teams here in a moment. But the other games we have are Cincinnati playing in the American Athletic Conference Championship against Houston, who is a one-loss team and probably the best team that they will see this year other than Notre Dame. But we've been, preparing for them to slip again against somebody, to slip it all against somebody this year. And they've come close. The closest they come against seems to be the worst team. So I would say this is, one of those kind of teams that sort of maybe plays up to their competition level a little bit, and I would expect that continue because they've done it all year. And so I'm pretty confident that they're going to come away undefeated and wind up being the first non-Power 5 team in the playoffs. There's just so many scenarios that can happen if they win. There's only maybe one or two. Actually, I think there may be only one scenario that would keep them out, and that would be Alabama winning and Michigan winning and Oklahoma State winning. And I think that would keep them out, because Georgia and Alabama would be in, certainly, and probably would be Michigan and Oklahoma State would be the other two. But, those are big ifs, because the other two conference games, that have these participants in them, obviously, is the Big Ten and the Big 12. Now, Michigan versus Iowa, I think, is very interesting, because now I know what everyone's going to say. Well, if Michigan can beat Ohio State, then they shouldn't have any trouble beating Iowa, if you don't think Ohio State would have had trouble beating Iowa. But, discerning college football fans that watch these seasons and pay close attention to them year in and year out understand that there are matchup variables, different styles of football. Some teams match up well with other teams, and just because one team beat one and they're going to play another one doesn't necessarily mean, we all know that A plus B doesn't necessarily equal C in college football. Everybody every year always wants to torture that formula, but it doesn't exist, too many times. So I feel like Michigan is the kind of team that Iowa can play with a little bit better than Ohio State, because Ohio State is, such a high-powered offense, and in a situation like this where it's in a neutral field, and I think they don't play in the same building every year for the Big Ten championship the way the SEC does, I don't believe. So it could be outdoors, and Michigan. But see, Michigan versus Iowa, if it snows again, I don't think Iowa is at a big a disadvantage as Ohio State would be in the snow, because they're more of a running game defense type team, the same way that Michigan is. These are very similar styles that are playing each other, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Iowa State come up with a win. Now, I would have been shocked for Iowa State to beat Ohio State, but don't be surprised at all if they can pull it off against Michigan. And the same way, mentality goes for the Big 12 championship, because I feel like Oklahoma State's a great team. They have a great defense, but they're playing a very good team that they didn't beat. They beat handily, but they didn't beat them all that well earlier in the season, and now they have to play them again and beat them again. That's quite a tall order. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see both Oklahoma State and Michigan lose, in which case you probably are going to have, if that happens, and Alabama loses a close game, could see Alabama sneak in as a 2-loss team, and then Cincinnati and Notre Dame would jump in too as well. I think that the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, and the Pac-12 would all be shut out if they all have 2-loss teams. I think the only conference that could get a 2-loss team in there would be the SEC, and Alabama would be the best shot for that because of the, just the pedigree that their name holds now, and how good, 13 bowl eligible schools, will give people the, benefit of the, the perception in the minds of the committee would give Alabama a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. I don't like it. I don't want Bama to go if they lose to Georgia. I think, they should just take their little New Orleans trip and go lose to whoever they'd be playing against in that one. Probably Baylor, I guess, if they, Baylor's probably going to be there whether they win or lose that Big 12 championship game. So probably Baylor. And that's how I see those other games going. I'm not going to give any score predictions, but I expect Cincinnati to win, and I wouldn't be surprised to watch Michigan and Oklahoma State lose. But moving on to the big one, Alabama, Georgia. We've been waiting all year. I haven't talked a whole lot about the matchup because, it wasn't set in stone until last week. And even then, after it was set, Alabama had their business to take care of with Auburn, which, I knew it was going to be a tall order, maybe not quite as tall as it turned out to be, but but they did take care of their business, and being held against a crucible like that in Jordan-Hare Stadium and coming out with a win, I don't think it can do anything but help a football team. It certainly helps your confidence, it helps your resiliency, it helps you know that you can handle the toughest of adversity and still come out with a W, and that's that's a good thing to know. If you're young kids like this, I think it's very important for them to know that even in the direst of situations, when it looks like you're certainly dead, that you can still pull it out of the fire, and that's they may need that going into next week. Now, reasons that Georgia might win are pretty obvious. They're freaking great. They've destroyed everything in their path other than Clemson, and since that was the first game of the season, I don't think you can give it too much weight. This is a different offense that Georgia has now than what was playing against Clemson in the first game of the season. Now, obviously, when it comes to predicting the game, I'm going to take that into account, but when you're just talking about Georgia, why Georgia might win, it's obvious. Their defense is one of the best that we've seen in probably a decade. Their front seven is one of the best all time. Their offense has a lot of weapons. I've been critical of Stetson Bennett, but he's done a bang-up job in his role there in Georgia. They're very steady. They are very consistent, and their offense doesn't make a lot of mistakes. It doesn't turn the ball over a lot. It's not very dynamic when it comes to, getting yards. But like I said, it's consistent and it doesn't turn the ball over and make mistakes. And that's what you want when you have a lockdown, devastating defense like they have on the other side. Why Alabama might win? Now, here's when you have to start getting a little creative and coming up with formulas and looking at matchups throughout the season and that sort of thing. But my argument is completely centered around Georgia's offense and Alabama's defense. Alabama, has gone through some travails this season, obviously, losing a game, giving up 41 points to Texas A&M, who wasn't even that particularly a good of an offense. So I understand why Alabama fans certainly hate Pete Golden and want him gone, and understand why people would be skeptical of Alabama's offense. But when you look at the numbers, Alabama's defense. But when you look at the numbers, Alabama's defense is pretty stout. We have the number 7 overall defense. Georgia obviously has the number 1 overall defense, but Bama has the number in the run defense. Georgia is number 3 nationally, and Alabama's number 4. I don't think a lot of people realize that going into this game. So I expect both teams to struggle moving the ball in this game. I think it'll be low-scoring defensive battle. Now, I'm not going to give my full prediction. This is just sort of a preview. I'll have my full SEC championship game prediction. I'll do a video on its own for that. But I'm just giving a little bit of a preview to the preview here. But, you know, obviously, like I said, Georgia's chances of winning are pretty obvious and clear. Best defense in the country, good, steady offense that doesn't make mistakes, and they just destroy everything in their path. And when you look at the shared matchups that these teams have, Tennessee was the only team that Alabama fared better against than Georgia, and not much. And then all the other ones, Arkansas, Auburn, and Florida, you know, Bama barely beat each of those teams, and Georgia destroyed all of them because that's what they've been doing. Now we'll discuss the different scenarios that were surrounding those games and that sort of thing in the prediction video. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a teaser and some of the things that I've been looking at going into this game. And we'll have a lot of fun discussing this more. And once again, I'd like to thank you for watching and going on this 2021 college football journey with me. And it's been a lot of fun. And we've still got a lot of football to be played and a lot of things to be talked about. And obviously that will be coming up soon. Look for that SEC championship game prediction. Hopefully I'll have that filmed and uploaded tomorrow. Thanks for watching.